whiskey business. My name is Jesse, and if this is your first time tuning into the channel, welcome and thanks for stopping by. If you do want to enjoy today's video, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe to see more content like this one, whiskey reviews, and all that stuff in general. It really helps YouTube algorithm when you leave a comment, as well as I'd love to hear any criticism or feedback that you have for me, or maybe even some recommendations for some whiskeys that I can find at the local LCBO. If you are new here, this channel is all about really reviewing and showcasing what the LCBO has to offer as far as whiskeys goes, because they are pretty limited. Let's be honest, we don't have all the releases, we don't get much, but what we do get, I try to review, so you guys don't have to spend a chunk of your paycheck out there to see if you're gonna like something or not. You can maybe start to gauge what my palate preferences are through watching my videos, and I hope to be able to share my opinion, and maybe it can influence you on that next bottle buy or not. Anyways, with all that out of the way, let's get into today's Decapitation. So today's Decapitation, we've got none other than Maker's Mark 46, aka Maker's 46. Maker's 46 is traditional Maker's Mark that they then take heavily seared French oak staves, place into an empty, previously filled Maker's Mark barrel, and then refill it with standard Maker's Mark and return it to the warehouse for about 2 to 3 months is what is estimated. So, if you guys have any Maker's 46 or any whiskey of your choosing, pour a dram and let's get into today's Decapitation. Welcome back. We are now going to make a mess with our Maker's wax. That's the Maker's mess, as I call it. Let's pop this baby open, shall we? Oh my gosh. Dude, the cork like came out of the plastic. That's not good when I go to pull it out if it doesn't come out. Now we're rocking the Wee Glen again today, because we still have another review to do after this. Spoiler alert, it's another weeded bourbon. One that is very hard to get at the LCBO. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. It's gonna be a special one, I hope. I don't know yet. I've never tried it. So anyways, so I've already talked a little bit about it. Rest in peace to the makers that I spilled on my shirt. Back of the bottle says stave profile number 46. For Maker's Mark 46, we start with fully aged Maker's Mark, add 10 seared French oak staves to the barrel, and place it in our limestone cellar for an extra aging process. This creates a bolder version of Maker's Mark with pronounced notes of caramel, vanilla, and has become known as stave profile number 46. Enjoy. Cool. This is coming in at 47% alcohol by volume, so it is a good bump up. Why they didn't do 46% when it's 46, I don't know. I feel like they should have, but hey, I'm always game for an extra proof point. So this will be coming in at your local LCBO for $60.95 for $7.50. So it's a bump up from the traditional Makers, but hopefully that's justified in the palate and nose that we're about to get into right now. Makers is actually one of my favorite sippers. It just has this delicious sweetness, the silkiness on the palate, and lots of baking spice and just baked good notes. So right away on the nose, I'm getting some of that. I think the fact that it was a neck pour is kind of masking some of these notes that I get when I drink the traditional Makers, as that's had so much time to open up. But but I can tell it's there. It's coming out. Lots of vanilla, cherry, for sure. Lots of cherry, like candy cherry, very sweet cherry, not artificially sweet cherry. A nice toasted note. Like, I would say toasted oak. That would make the most sense. That's nice. Lots of caramel. Lots of vanilla. I already said that. It's buttery. It's like almost shortbread-esque. Lots of warm baking spices like cinnamon, cloves. There is like quite a bit of depth to this. I would say more depth than your traditional makers, but ooh, yep, toffee, just buttery, just straight buttery toffee. Maybe a slight little bit of milk chocolate. That is a wonderful nose. That is wonderful. I don't recall getting that buttery toffee on traditional makers. I'd get cherry, vanilla, caramel, the warm baking spice, almost like a rye bread too. Now, if you don't know, Makers is a wheated bourbon. I did mention that. So this is not actually containing rye. It uses wheat instead of rye. The mash bill is 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted barley. Oh, gosh. Oh, it smells so good. Well, without further ado, let's get to the palate, shall we? Cheers. Okay, the ethanol is really prevalent. Almost punched me in the back of the throat there. I wasn't expecting that. Now, it's only 47 proof, but it's drinking a lot hotter than that. That could be because it's a neck pour. The palate is like buttery pancakes, no syrup. Buttery pancakes, no syrup. Instead of syrup, you've got caramel on there, like some warm caramel. There's lots of cinnamon in these pancakes, okay? Which, if you don't put cinnamon in your pancakes, you should reevaluate things. There's still that rye bread that I'm getting. Like, I'm getting the pancakes, cinnamon, caramel on the top, and then like this rye bread. But there's no rye in this, so oh yeah, I was gonna say I'm not getting that toasted oak, but I'm getting a lot of oak, but I don't take it as toasted as I was finding it to be on the nose. But it's definitely heavily oaked. It's heavily oaked, so that's what's giving it that bitterness. It's like buttery pancakes on an oak plate that you're eating with an oak fork, and you're drinking water out of an oak cup. Okay, this sounds kind of off-putting, but it's not. It's really enjoyable. The heat's starting to tame down after a few sips, but oh, that nose is the nose is so much sweeter and lighter, fruity than the palate is, but the palate is just rich and silky smooth, buttery, very, what's another word for rich, like decadent, you know? Moving on to the finish. It's sweet, definitely sweet wheat, warm cinnamon, not rye spice, but warm cinnamon spice. Maybe like if you've ever baked or toasted like cinnamon sticks in a pan, that's kind of what I'm getting into the finish. And just like sweet bread, sweet wheat bread. It's about short to medium at best. It's not very long at all, but it is very nice. As far as mouthfeel goes, like I said, it's like silky buttery, but but it is a little bit thin for my liking. Well, let's get into some ratings. So, on the palate, sorry, on the nose, I'm going to give this a 90. I could smell this all day. I love it. It's got some of my favorite notes in there. And for the price, you know, I don't base on the price. So I think the complexity of the nose is absolutely delicious. I could smell it all day. Into the palate, I'm going to say the palate was a little bit lackluster, but it was a neck pour. Could open up to be something absolutely wonderful, like the Maker's traditional is. Do I wish the mouthfeel was a little bit better and thicker? Yes. But overall, it's a nice palate, so I'm going to give it an 82. The finish wasn't very long, was pretty one note. I'm going to give the finish a 72. So that brings our overall score from Maker's 46 to 81.3. I think this is a very good sipper. It would probably be good in cocktails. I'm not one that drinks a lot of cocktails, but this is definitely a great nosing whiskey. You know, you want to sit there and do some computer work, I don't know, do some journaling, watch a movie, and just keep going back to that nose. Oh, it's the nose. If the palate lived up to the nose, we'd be in a whole different game here. I've actually got someone picking me up some Maker's Cask Strength, not Maker's 46 Cask Strength, Maker's Cask Strength from America. So I'm super excited to try that. I hope that gives me that mouthfeel that I really want and a little bit more layers. But overall, as far as the LCBO goes, this is a great pick. I think next up I'm going to have to try the Maker's 101. That is also readily available at the LCBO. But if you guys have tried Maker's 101 or Maker's 46, let me know what your opinions are down below in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate a like. It helps me to keep the videos coming and helps the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you want to see more reviews. Like I said, we're all about showcasing what the LCBO has to offer. So if you are a local Ontarian, I believe is what they call them, maybe you'd enjoy watching a little bit more of my content where I review LCBO whiskeys. If you do want to stay up to date with all the most recent posts, click the bell notification icon and follow me on Instagram right here. I post every time there's a new upload, and I try to post my LCBO pickups as well as when there is sales going on. But that's going to do for this decapitation. I hope everyone is staying warm and well. It is starting to get cold. We just had our first snowfall of the year, and this Maker's is going to keep me nice and warm through the winter. Anyways, guys, this has been Whiskey Business, and I'm out. Peace.